If I'm looking at
That's kind of neat, so.
if I look at a wall that just has a card, you know, the wood on it, and it's not here, I just see what's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So getting a good feel of this, but maybe a different floor plan or different.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful,
That's
because we were, you know, surprised every house we walked into was a little different.
Yeah.
Quite a
So
variation.
You're more likely to
Right.
hit something that fits too, you know.
Let's see.
I feel like one of them, this counter out here was about half this size.
Yeah, this is the biggest one that we saw.
I like the scanner.
Do ya?
Yeah, you do actually.
Good.
Make sure.
Of
Oh, I do too.
all the places in here, other than those, this would be my favorite.
Well,
This
there was
this
one.
floor plan, you mean, or
Well, I'm talking about location, where it's
location?
at.
This would be your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
We could walk over here and just look at it and
Yeah.
look in the backyard. I think that's gonna be, I think a fence would change.
Some of it.
Perspective,
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
So, but I think it's looking at the floor plan, we walk through and say, you know, this is where,
Yeah.
and then we kind of move down the line. And then the last house we'll see is almost to this stage.
Oh, okay.
It's missing the view, but if you have your backyard faces an empty, I believe it's an empty field.
Okay.
So again,
Empty right now.
it's empty right now.
Is
That one, I don't know. It's
that the trailer?
there's a trailer up above, but that's all
Yeah.
grass area. It's been like
Yeah.
that for years. I
Yeah.
don't know what they'll do eventually, maybe, but.
We can look at the assessor's records and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just take a look and get it.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Let's kind of walk through, and I'll give you the ones that are listed. And then at the end of the day, I feel like you guys could talk it over, and then you could get back to me and say, okay,
We want to kind of maybe look at
yeah,
this.
here's what we're thinking. Either come back through for another, because sometimes when you could get lost, if you see too much
Well,
too
then
quick,
you
then you kind of forget what it looks
Yeah.
like. So if
Right.
you want to come back through, we can come back through. If
Right.
if there's a clear winner, and you're like,
Mhm.
I'd like to, consider making
Talk about this
something.
one, yeah.
That process, I can give you a quick little rundown on. So if you're like, get to a point where like, I want to make an offer. So earnest money, are you familiar with what that is?
Nah, sort of.
Okay, so when you make an offer, earnest money, you'll present amount of money that you'll give to the title company. That money will then be held until closing, and then that will come back to you, and it will pay for closing costs. Now I
But
think
it basically locks in the house.
locks in the house,
Yeah.
and it's a safety for the builder that if you walked for no reason, and that they're covered for damages being on the market, and it,
Right. Okay.
if you come to closing, that money then comes back to you, and like I said, it covers closing costs, and if you put enough down that it, and you're going to pay cash, most likely. Possibly.
Well, yeah, possibly,
Okay.
but it's turning after I talked to Mike yesterday,
Ah.
and it might be full, yeah.
So if you're paid cash, and it would go towards your balance due there, and things like that. So, really at the point with Sage is just your amount you want to put down, and it's normally anywhere from 3,000 on up. In a competitive market where there's multiple offers,
Oh,
the more you put down, the more it's
Preliminarily, I know that if I'm headed for a house within my price range, I'm doing half down.
okay, and then
I know for sure. That's my decision. you know,
okay.
Upfront.
If you're doing like this, so if you're gonna do half down and then half lender, do you have a lender that
No, not
do you,
yet.
do you need some context? I could give you 3 or 4 names and you could call them up. Each person has a different feel, different presentation. It's a comfort. the product at the end of the day is gonna be the same. Interest rates are gonna be relatively within a few points, you know, but the difference is gonna be how you related with
That person.
that person. There's one guy that we use a lot. He could sell himself. He's just a talker. He makes you feel good. He's confident in how he presents. There's a couple other ones that are a little quieter. They maybe not sell themselves as good, but equally as they've been in
Competent, yeah.
and then, so I give you 3 or 4 names and just say, hey, I'm just calling. I was recommended to you.
Yeah.
How's it work? And all of them will have like they say the application to fill out.
A scenario that
Yeah.
they take it through.
But yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with. And if you start with a lender, and let's say that you're like, okay, I want to do 200 down and 200 loan, and then you get farther down the road and you're like, I'm gonna pay cash. Perfect.
Then you can just do that.
Yep. If you get down the road and you're like, I'm gonna do cash, and all of a sudden you're like, I want to do a lender, it's not a problem. The lender normally, the time they start the process to closing is about 45 days, give or take.
Okay, 360, so about a month and a half.
Give or take, yeah. Depending on how quickly you get it to them, how quickly you get to underwriting.
Right.
Some of them could be 30 days. Just depends on a few scenarios.
Well, there's always something you just don't know.
Yeah. So, Sage. Pantry. Oh yes. Sage is.
What's this one?
Yeah. That's going to be a closet.
Oh, that's a coat closet, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good setting.
And then there is a linen closet.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Scott. I really just kind of walked away from you when you were talking, and I was
Oh, no.
listening, and I'm really sorry.
No. And my job is to help you through. So if you don't know something, instead of struggle through it, and it maybe doesn't have anything to do with purchasing the house, but maybe it's finding someone for homeowner insurance, or who to call for blinds, or who to call for fencing.
Right.
You know.
Oh, because you have to do some kind of window stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the best to call for appliances? And maybe you guys know that, but
Well,
yeah.
we're not, we haven't been here that long.
Okay.
Yeah, we're game, yeah,
So-
we're game.
But yeah, I'm here to not just
To
sell
help
the house,
out.
but to get
Right.
you through
Yeah.
the process.
Right.
Because as exciting as it is, especially dealing with a lender,
Daunting.
it's overwhelming.
It is.
And especially when you're uprooting,
Right,
it's stressful.
Right.
And unknown, and it
Right.
can be.
it's a roller coaster.
I've had
People burst into tears.
more than situations
Yeah.
where they break down,
It's a roller coaster.
or they're frustrated and they
Yeah.
don't do a call, and they call